Welcome to today's episode of Confessions of a Cleaning Business Owner. I'm Louise, here with Diane, and today we're talking recruitment.
Favorite topic.
Do you know, isn't this the most perfect time of the year? So there's cycles in recruitment when it comes to cleaning businesses. And we've come out of the summer holidays, which is the worst time. Like, I just quit. I didn't bother because it's so hard. I've learned I've wasted my time in the past. Got the adverts in place in the week running up to schools going back. And we are now on that run up to Christmas. How's it going for you, Diane?
Yeah, so same as you really. I recruited right up until mid-July and then stopped. That's it. We've not done anything mid-July to the end of August. And now it's recruit time again. Like you say, right up until Christmas now, we'll be actively recruiting because I still have to hit my target of increasing my team by 20 by the end of the year. So, and we're only halfway there. So we've got to really ramp it up for the last few months, but complete confidence that we'll do it because it's such a great time of year to recruit.
Yeah, it's not unreasonable to be growing by one a week. Like, I would expect a good 13 new staff members if you want them in that run up to Christmas. I don't want to grow at that kind of rate, but good for you if you do.
We'll give it a go.
I've done it in the past, but it depends what your business plan is at the moment. But the point is, for a lot of people, they're not going to be recruiting at that kind of rate. But every time we do a podcast on recruitment, it's not our first one here, I always ask, what's the market like at the moment? And it's a different answer, to 6 months ago, a year ago even. So run me through, what is the market for recruitment like for employees and for self-employed? Right now, right this second.
Right now, the kids have gone back to school. Big time in potential team members' lives, if you like. It might be that somebody's children have started school for the first time, so you've got those lovely returners, and also, other people that maybe they're not going to change jobs during the summer because they want to use their holiday up, but actually they might be like, oh, I've got to go back now, not quite so excited about it as they were hoping to be, so they're looking to change. And yeah, it's just a time for change, I think, September, and also for new customers. So actually it's a good time of year for demand, so it's definitely a good time of year to get out there and start recruiting.
It's strange, isn't it? Because we think of the 1st of January as New Year's resolution, as a big changing point for a lot of people. They come out the Christmas holidays and they go, right, I'm not going back to my old job. I want to change my life. I'm going to do something new. But actually, the end of the summer holidays is almost as big a changing point for a lot of people. Because the summer holidays are over. They've been on holidays, not just kids' summer holidays. And they go, do you know, when we were away in Turkey for 2 weeks, I really liked living in a nice hotel room that was cleaned every day. I really think we should get a cleaner. What am I doing with my life? This is how I want to live it.
Yeah, completely. All those conversations that are going on, and then the person that potentially could have come and work for you has been on holiday. Maybe they couldn't take as much holiday as they'd wanted, or maybe there was problems at work around having that time off. And actually, maybe they want to work for a more flexible company, and both our cleaning businesses, Louise, only work Tuesday to Friday. So every weekend's a bank holiday weekend. And, that's the sort of messages that we can now get out there to potential team members, aren't they?
Yeah. Or we know that it's quite an interesting one because at the moment in every industry, you only have to go to a supermarket to go, there aren't enough people on the checkouts. And that's not because the supermarkets are being stingy. They literally can't recruit. So you know that every other business has had staff problems, particularly in the summer, which has put stress on other staff members. Well, if you can manage that, and that's been going fine, now's actually a really good time to try and poach those staff members that are potentially quite unhappy with where they currently are.
Yeah, they're maybe not enjoying their job anymore because they've been a bit overworked during the summer. So yeah, absolutely. So many advantages to this time of year. So it's time to fill your boots, as they say, isn't it? And get some lovely new recruits in.
So the question is, let's say we do want to fill our boots and grow our team. Where do you advertise? What are my options?
So we in our cleaning business predominantly use Indeed. For us, it's always been the most effective tool, and we still use it consistently, and we run our adverts consistently as well. There are other options out there. I mean, you can definitely use social media, and sometimes the quality of the applicants isn't there, or it's quite a little bit harder to manage them through a process, but that can work really well. The other thing that works really well for us is actually other team members.
Yes. Yes, because they sell your business better than you can. And I love it because I'll interview someone and they've got a friend that already works here. And I go, do you want me to describe what the job is, or have you heard? And they'll go, oh, I've heard it can be quite hard work. And I'm like, well, you're still here. So, you know, you know that, and let's do it. And I'll show you what it's really like. And, you know, most of our staff have been with us years and years. And what's really lovely when you get established in an area, they recognize your uniform. And so the moment they see that uniform, they're like, oh, I know so and so. And it's quite nice because you become part of the community.
Yeah, definitely. But and actually some real gems have come to our team that way. You know, I think at one point we had 3 family members all working for us.
I love it. Do you know what did really well for me? And I'm a bit gutted because my favourite recruiters just left, but we work with these like getting people back into work recruiters. So they did my recruitment for free. And so I'd get a phone call going, Louise, I've got someone for you. Are you going to interview them? When can you interview them? I was like, book them in an hour's time. Like, I loved it. Of course, 50% of them wouldn't work out, but I'd take 50%. I just guaranteed to interview everyone they sent across to me, because why wouldn't I? But that, I probably got more staff members in the last few months from that than anything else. And it's easy for me.
And how did that come about? So, because that's the key here, isn't it? As a business owner, it's about building relationships with potential resources for your business sometimes, isn't it? And this is a key one.
So about 2 years ago, I sent out an email, and I think we've got the template in one of our training and recruitment training. I sent out an email to I looked on Google for every company that got people back into work. And I sent an email out to them giving, you know, it was only about 5 lines long. It gave a brief overview. It's part-time. It's in this area. This is the kind of people I'm looking for. Does this match anyone that you've got? Well, of course, from their point of view, they love it because anyone doing recruitment, we think of it quite differently. But when you work in recruitment, you need to find the jobs and you need to find the candidates and you match them together. One of the hardest things is actually to find the jobs. It's harder to find the jobs than the candidates. So I went out as an employer and went, here's my job. And they went, yes, because it's so easy. If they're struggling to get people back into work, it's often because these people have got time commitment issues or anything like that. Or maybe they don't have the right qualifications. Well, as long as they've got the right attitude, I can work around loads of other things. And so we are the perfect industry because we can be so flexible.
And
so
that
yes,
literally started with you sending out an email, being proactive.
I sent out 10 emails. I think I ended up, you know, getting back in three of them got back in contact with me. And there's one that I just loved. And so I tended to work just with this one, really adored working with them. And I'm really gutted because my main contacts moved on, but there are other contacts in there. And that worked really well.
Brilliant. Do you use Indeed still?
Of course. Why would you not cover all the bases? So when I'm not really recruiting, I'll put out 1 a week. When I'm recruiting, it's 3 a week minimum. And I might, on those 3 a week, that's me going into Indeed 3 times a week. And I'm maybe putting out 2 adverts in maybe 2 different areas, slightly different adverts. But yeah, I'm putting them out. I know that most people apply on a Sunday and a Monday. So I am hitting, if I can get an advert out on a Sunday morning, that is awesome for me. Because if you're using Indeed for free, you drop right down those rankings so fast. So you have to be really aware, when are people looking? And it's a Sunday night. They're thinking about going back to work tomorrow. They're going to be applying at sort of 5, 6, 7 in the evening on a Sunday night.
One of my most successful job adverts, actually, not on Indeed, but on social media, we think we got about 10 applicants just through that one advert, was because we don't work Mondays. And I put in on a Sunday, are you dreading going back to work tomorrow? Well, don't worry. If you come and work for us, you'll never have to have that feeling again, because we don't work Mondays. And a little graphic of I hate Mondays or something like that with a little sad teacup, I think it was. And yeah, it got in, you know, and we don't normally get much response on social media for our job adverts, but we got 10 applicants just from that advert.
Love that. So a few years ago, I struggled to recruit a little bit on social media. So I set up a local job board on Facebook, and everyone was able to use my local job board. It's now got thousands of people on my local job board. And I've actually got someone else that does all the admin because I've got quite enough things to do. And so what I find now, it's really awesome because I can advertise on my own job boards, and I know that I've got a target market that's there, which is really good. So yeah, social media is not working. Think about it a little bit differently.
Yeah, and I remember you sharing that tip in a recruitment masterclass probably a couple of years ago, and I started my own then as well. And we've only got about 1,400 people in it, but I mean it's still nearly 1,500 people. So yeah, and I advertise my jobs in there, and because you own the group, you can pin them to the top.
Oh yeah. And you can do the naughty things. So there's things you can't do because the admin stop you. Things like uh, one of the best responses I get to what they called adverts. People don't want to send their CV because maybe they don't have a CV and they don't want to go to the effort of actually applying and sending details. So if you can make it super, super easy, one of the best tips is to get them to apply for this job, text or WhatsApp the word job, right? And then I had a template. When I got a WhatsApp saying the word job, I just sent a template response back to them asking a little bit more details. But admins don't like you to do that because it's a really lazy way of recruiting. But when you own your own job board, you can do it because you get more applicants that way and you can break the rules. So other people aren't allowed to do that on my job board. And so they're not happy that I do that. But you will get so many more applications that way. But of course, then you've got more filtering to do. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, absolutely. And it brings me to my next question, really, which is about the process, because we did a masterclass on this recently, didn't we, where we literally shared our two slightly different systems for recruitment. So it starts with the advert, of course it does, and it's thinking about that advert as marketing, but then it's the process that you go through to actually manage those applications, isn't it?
Yes, I think we're very similar. And I think we shared all our templates. So recruitment is so hard. And I think the reason I find it hard, well, I don't really anymore, but I think the reason so many people find it hard is it is mentally draining. You get rejected all the time. You get your hopes up because you think you found the right person and then they don't work out or they ghost you. It's like the most extreme mental battering. And then on top of that, if you've been a business owner for years, you've just taken this mental rejection for years.
Years and years, yeah, absolutely. I think if getting customers was this hard, we'd all give up, wouldn't we? Imagine if you had a customer that you think that you're going to go clean for them in 2 days' time, and then they ghost you, or or they're just not in when you go for your first clean, and then they go, oh well, I never wanted you in the first place. I mean, all that stuff that happens in recruitment, thankfully, doesn't happen 99.9% of the time with customers, does it? So yeah, if it was that hard, we'd all give up.
And I think the other thing as well, and one of the things we're really honest about is, look, if you want to be good at recruitment in this industry, you need to be doing a lot of it. And a lot of people think, I do an hour a week. And we're like, good luck with that. Look at 8 to 10 and then we'll talk.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing as well. Is I hear that a lot. I can't recruit. I just can't get anybody. And I can go, well, what do you do? What have you been doing? And as you said, they'll go, well, I put an advert on 2 weeks ago and the responses were crap. And I'm just like, that's just not good enough. That's why you can't recruit. It is difficult to recruit. And we would never say that it is easy. There's definitely a process to take people through, and you're going to lose people along the way. But if you're not putting in the time and the effort and the changes that you need, it's going to be even harder.
Yeah. And I always say it's interesting when my operations director comes up to me, and he's done it this morning because he sacked someone. He goes, Louise, I need someone ASAP. And I've told him now it's not a 4-week lead time, but I tell him it's a 4-week lead time. I'm like, you want someone new? You give me a 4-week lead time. Now I can do it in less, and I would expect to do it in less, but I can guarantee I will have done it in a 4-week lead time. But a lot of people wait till they need someone. And I'm saying 4 weeks because I'm good at this. If you're not that practiced or experienced, you could comfortably looking 8 to 12 weeks before you can find someone. But the rest of us would probably reject that person because there's a few things wrong with them. And you think, I'll overlook it. Maybe they'll fit in, or maybe it'll work out. Whereas we've just learned the hard way. Don't even bother. If there's red flags at the start, they don't get better.
Yeah, we have a rule which if it's not 100% yes, it's 100% no. So listen to those, and like say, see the red flags, listen to your instincts that are telling you there's something not quite right here. You're usually right. Sometimes you might be being, overcautious, but usually you're right. And, hire in haste, repent at leisure, as they say. It can be really difficult. So what I've done in my process, and I know that it loses some of our candidates, but I've had to do it for the fact that I'm recruiting at volume, but also for my own self-preservation, is I've kind of given the candidates a lot of control of the process early on, in that I invite them to book their interview. If they don't book, I don't care. I don't follow it up. There's nothing else to be done. So it's almost them, they need to take the initiative early on. And that protects my emotions, I think, so that I don't get too disheartened.
So I think you're looking at it from your point of view there. There's actually a lot of research that they are more committed if they book it themselves. But also, it takes the time out of your diary. There's nothing I find more annoying than, are you available on Tuesday? Oh no, what about Wednesday? Or 2 o'clock? Oh, let's do, oh my God, can you imagine having that 20 times a day?
And I have candidates that, will email me, they'll go on the company website and end up emailing, and they'll be like, oh, can I book? And I just, here's the link. And they go, well, I can do Friday. Here's the link. You just book in my diary. That's when I'm available.
So, do you know what I really like about that as well? So they book into my diary whenever they choose to book in. And I only check my diary that morning when I get up because it changes so often. And I'll go, I can see that 2 of them out of the 6 that have booked in for that day have cancelled. And I'm like, brilliant, because now I'm not sat around waiting for them. They will cancel their own appointments. And okay, they do it last minute, but that's better. So many people are sat there waiting for a candidate, and the candidate doesn't want the awkwardness of phoning and cancelling, whereas mine just cancel online. And I'm like, okay, fine, you've cancelled. Yeah, I'd rather you turned up, but at least you've cancelled.
And my diary system sends them a text reminder an hour before. So they've even got an opportunity an hour before to just click and cancel. So, because I don't do my interviews, my first interviews in person, they're on Zoom. So I don't mind too much if they don't turn up, but it does seem to have weeded out the no-shows quite significantly.
Yeah, I very rarely get a no-show now. I'm not saying I get none, but we do them in person. And it's that diary booking system that changed everything. And I love it. Half don't book. And that's fine. That's fine. But when you come back to me in 3 months' time and want to apply for my job, I'm going to send you the same booking link. And if you don't book, that's fine. But what I really love is that I don't have to worry about what I put in my diary. Like if I want to go and, I don't know, have a PT or have a massage, I make it sound like my life's wonderful. Probably a dog walk is what I really book out of my diary. It means that I don't have to think or negotiate or shuffle things around. It's just booked in.
Yeah, absolutely. And because the systems work so well, if I do have another appointment, I put it in my diary and it automatically means that they can't book at that time because they're both linked. So yeah, it works really well. So that's a really good automated system that I like. But what I also like in our process, once they have booked and they've met me, we then have quite a touchy-feely process. It's still systemized. That sounds really bad, doesn't it?
Touchy-feely, you're online.
No, but quite a nice process, if you know what I mean, in terms of nurturing them. So it's a system, but it nurtures them. So they'll get a follow-up that says it was lovely to meet you and we're really looking forward to you joining the team. Then they'll get their proper welcome with all their, paperwork and things. And then they have a call or a text message just before they start to say, we're looking forward to seeing you next week. And so it's quite a touch. It's called this sort of a touch system, a bit like in sales, where you need to have those constant contacts with them to keep them engaged in the process.
So I don't think of ours like that, but yes, it does do that. But it's kind of like I would then do if I like them. So I click a button. If I don't like them, boom, automatic rejection. If I like them, I'd normally then do a pre-close. I would then verbally offer them the job because I want to run through, has anything changed? Blah, 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 blah. Then I offer them the job and then they get an email saying your job is offered. I think that's really about all it says. There's tiny bit of blurb. Are you happy to accept? They then click yes. Then automatically they get sent more blurb, a template, and they have to fill in their details. And what we find is if they don't fill in that details form, they're not starting. And so we're not sat around. I mean, we used to get people that we'd go through the whole interview process and we'd be waiting for them to start on day one and they don't start, and you think, when did it go wrong? What did I do wrong? And now it's like we've got a pre-warning system. If they haven't filled that in the day before, they're not starting. And so we know the day before.
We're the same because they have to sign their contract and their staff handbook in 2 separate processes. So if you sign the contract, great, but then if they don't sign the handbook, then we will follow up with them if they haven't signed the handbook. But if they don't sign the contract, it's a pretty big clue, isn't it? And a big red flag that they're probably not going to turn up. But even if they have signed the contract and the handbook and then they don't respond to that welcome text, I think we'd send it on the Wednesday and they're starting on the Tuesday of the following week. So if they don't respond by the Friday, we assume when we take them out of the schedule and we assume they're not going to show up. They never have accidentally showed up, put it that way.
No. And it's really weird. But I think this is a lot of the mistakes. I say mistakes. You don't know what you don't know. And we're talking through this, and it seems so obvious because we've been through it and we've been burned so many times in so many ways. And we're like, right, stop that one hurting me, stop that one hurting me. And we talk about all these systems and software, and you and I do have software that does all of this. But it doesn't have to be software. Every one of these is templated. And I could get rid of all my software that does a lot of this automatically. As long as I had the templates, I'd just email every template. Like, it wouldn't be that much more effort.
So I just had to interrupt the recording there really quickly because I've got some plants being delivered and I had to run off. So apologies, Louise, I stopped her in mid-flow while she was talking about her recruitment process.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And now I can't remember where we got up to there, Diane. Oh, I was just saying, for people could use templates, couldn't they, if they hadn't started? So what's your best advice if someone's really new to recruitment? How do they get started?
I think it starts with thinking about who you want to recruit, doesn't it? It starts with, ideal candidate, a bit like marketing for customers. Who's your ideal customer? Who do you really want to come and work for you? And are you going to be attractive to that person? Is your business going to be attractive to that person?
Yeah, I always think the ideal candidate's a really interesting one because a lot of people, when you're taking on your first member of staff, you want someone really good at cleaning, who's going to fit in well, who's going to get on really well with your customers, who's going to make your life less stressful because you're probably already at a stressful point. And that's really different to what you and I would look for now, isn't it?
I think what happens often is they try and recruit themselves. So they
Yeah.
literally try and find somebody just like them. And do you really want somebody just like you in your business? Or do you actually want somebody who really enjoys cleaning, is methodical and thorough and good and easy for you to train? That's what you really want. You don't want somebody who's entrepreneurial, wants to build a business. That's not necessarily the right candidate anyway.
Well, what I really want is someone they can have no experience. In fact, quite often they've got no bad habits if they've got no experience. I can train them. I want someone who requires exactly the flexibility, exactly what we can offer them. That's what I'm looking for, the match of what they're looking for and what I can offer. I don't, with the best will in the world, I want them to get on well with my customers and everything. But actually, I don't really care as much about that. They've got to be approachable, but I don't want them to be me.
No, definitely not. And I want them to be sort of, like you say, approachable, but perhaps sort of on the quieter side and actually just want to get on and do a really thorough job. Really caring person, but not in a, too sort of in your face kind of way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Whereas I think when I first started, what I thought I was looking for was someone who knew loads. I want to see someone with 10 years experience in cleaning. Now that I have that and more, I'm like, I do not want someone like me. I'd be a disaster.
Actually, and I think you're right. Sometimes when you recruit somebody that's got lots of experience, you have to untrain a lot of bad habits. You don't know where they've worked before. And we found that if they come from all commercial cleaning, so they've been doing office cleaning, then they bring some really bad habits to domestic cleaning. And even if they've got experience in domestic cleaning, the business they might have been working for might not have the same systems or might not be as good as my business, but actually it might be that they just don't have the same processes and ways of working. They could be spraying Mr. Sheen all over the place for all I know. Sorry, Mr. Sheen. But, it's sometimes you just got to untrain that. And, I love people that have worked in housekeeping and hotels because I find that they're really good at the finishing touches. But sometimes I have to untrain and make sure that they're cleaning to a really good thorough level because they're really good at surface cleaning. But I sometimes, have to untrain that a little bit.
Do you know what I quite like about people that have come from housekeeping in hotels? They are used to the balance between time pressure and attention to detail. And that's one of the hardest things for people to grasp, that you've got 2 hours or 3 hours to clean this house. And yeah, we could all clean it perfectly in 6 hours. You've got three. And they've never in their life had to work to a time limit before, and guaranteed they are not going to hit it for really the first week. And then I'd expect them to hit it afterwards. Whereas people that have done housekeeping before, they're going to hit that by the end of the first week.
Yeah, I agree. And we tend to give them at least 2 weeks to get the timing right. But even then, and because our training is all about attention to detail and being thorough and not missing things, we have to be careful that that's not at the expense of speed. So it is always that balance. And you're right, somebody that's worked in housekeeping, changing over those rooms at pace. And I think some hotels you get 20 minutes, some you get 40 minutes. And if you've got to turn around a room in that time, that's great training for domestic cleaning. And also they're used to going from one thing to another, aren't they? And repeating it?
Well, I always say the best cleaner is a methodical cleaner. It's an efficient cleaner. So you don't have to be the best cleaner in the world. You just have to have a really clear process. And I'll teach you the process. You just have to follow it. But again, if you're growing your team for the first time, you probably don't have training. You probably don't know every process. So it is a challenge. How do you train someone to clean like you when you just do it? And you go, could I write down my process? Like I know I can write down my process because I have written down my process. I train it. And it's lovely now because I can walk into, I don't do my training anymore, but I can walk into any of my trainees and I know exactly how they've been trained. I know exactly what they're supposed to do. And when they turn around to me and go, oh, I didn't know, I'm like, oh, yes, you did. One, you had a video. Two, you've got a manual. And three, you got trained in person. So you knew.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, that's another thing for somebody that's starting out in the recruitment process. It's thinking about who you want to recruit and what might be attractive about your business and the job for them, but also how are you going to train them? So many times people forget that part of the recruitment process. Fantastic. You've got somebody starting. What are you going to do with them on day one? Well, I'm going to send them out to clean up clients. Okay, good luck with that. So you do need to really sit and think about how you're going to train them. And if you're listening to this and you're already down the road of recruiting, you'll know that this is probably one of the harder bits of recruiting, is actually the induction and training and getting them settled in. And it's sometimes easier to teach them the cleaning side than it is the managing alarms, managing the pets, managing locking up, and those customer services. That's sometimes the bit that comes with more experience, but you need to nail the cleaning side first.
It's teaching them to represent your business. They are the face of your business more than you are. And that's one of the hard things as business owners, that you have to, by the time you start growing a team, you have to let go. You've not got a choice.
No, completely. And you do, and letting go is the right words, actually, because you have to realize that if you want to grow your business with a team, then you have to let others go out there and represent what you've started building. But that comes down to a bit of culture, doesn't it, and recruiting the right people, and the old hire on attitude and train them on skills. I think in our industry stands really true, doesn't it?
And I think for me, if I was taking someone on again from the start, because I wouldn't be growing at a massively fast rate, I'd probably have them work with me for probably a month.
Yeah, I definitely did that a lot. And I think I probably recruited in the first when I first started recruiting in earnest, I used to hire somebody about every 6 weeks, and they always worked with me for at least 4 weeks. And what I used to do is, because I was earning money from cleaning as well, a little bit at the time, I would build my hours up to almost unmanageable and then hire somebody to do half of them with me. And then I would let them go and do those hours. Then I'd build my hours back up again and then hire somebody else. And I very much grew the business very organically in the first year doing it that way.
And during the 4 weeks where you're probably just sharing your hours, I would just have a waiting list. So I'm still going out and doing quotes, but I'm saying, right, we'll start in 4 weeks' time. And when you've handed everything over, then you're suddenly like, okay, and I've got a whole load of new houses. And they don't know that you used to work alone because you're going to come straight in as a team with a new person. So they haven't got the same expectations.
And working alongside them for all that time. And, as your business grows, this will hopefully become a senior member of your team. But while it's you share your knowledge. So you do the initial training and the basics, and we have a certain system as to how we clean every room. But it's those things that you come across that you then have the chance to share that knowledge with them as you're going through, whether it's, just secret tips and tricks that you just come across in every different house, that they can learn the different surfaces that they're going to come across. You can just start to share it as you're going along, can't you?
I love it. I love it. So I hope that people have listened to this. We could keep talking about recruitment forever. But if you've listened this far on the podcast, I suggest if you want to know more, obviously, it's one of our biggest topics in the DCBN training library. Both Diane and I, marketing and recruitment, we love it. I think we've got about 4 separate 1-hour videos on recruitment. There's that much. And then there's managing a team. And then there's you training a team. They are all separate videos. There's, on the topics we've covered today, there's probably about 8 videos. So you can come and watch 8 hours of learning.
It's actually going to be, because I've just, we're just about to release the book on marketing that I've written. I'm actually already outlining the one on recruitment. And yeah, we love it. And hopefully we can share our knowledge on it.
I love it. So not only can they join the DCBN, they'll be able to buy an ebook in 6 to 12 months.
It'll be only a few months, but yes, by Christmas.
Christmas. Wow, that's good. That's your target. So anyone listening to this, we hope to see you in person at the awards. If nominations are still open, nominate by the 15th of September. If not, get some tickets, come along to the 22nd of November in Coventry. It's going to be so much fun. And we really love these kind of events, meeting everyone, the networking. Please, please come along and vote for your winner.
Exciting. Thanks, Louise.
Thank you. Bye-bye.